Okay, good afternoon. How are you? Good. How many of you in here are actually interested to author a Giselle project one day? There is a couple people in the room. Okay, we have had information sessions where we have a larger amount of time to discuss this. So because I have 5 minutes today, I'm just going to talk about the tenets of what is required to write a Giselle project. And I know Deb had talked about COLT. We are actually now in the new Office of Global Citizenship, Education, and Inclusion. So there are basically 5 elements to writing a Giselle project, and they're all outlined here on this poster. And we are also finalizing a Giselle research project that will be available for your use to study. We've actually studied the impact of our Giselle projects with the staff and students at Centennial College, which I strongly advise you to read if you are interested. So what do you think is the most important element in creating a Giselle project? Authoring a Giselle project. Any guesses? Deb, Chet, Barsha, Aaron, Pat, all of you that have been, Connie, that have been on Giselle? Yep. Network. Oh, great. So you had it's connecting with that community organization. So if you are thinking about authoring a Giselle project, one of the things that Deb said very, very poignantly is that we are not invited into these communities. These communities don't know where Centennial College is. They're international communities, but there are local community organizations that are doing global work, international work. Who are they? What do they look like? Perhaps in your own network, you have connections. We have a lot of faculty and staff that have connections with international communities because of their background, because of their interests, and they can connect with them. Maybe it's where they're from, and they have those connections. So if you have an idea, the most important element is that you are connected with a community organization that actually has social justice goals. And that's the second element. So when you look on here, what all Giselles require social justice methodology. What does that mean? Well, we don't go into communities and say, you know what, I think they need a school. That's not something we do, because how would we know those communities? Those goals are identified from the community themselves. So for you to develop what the project is, you have to understand and learn what are the goals of their community and work alongside them. Okay, so that's the second element. The third element is actually what Deb was saying, is to talk about it. If you have an idea, come to our offices so we can work through, well, what do the learning outcomes look like? So we had a Giselle India trip that went this year. How many people heard of the India trip that went and saw? Exactly. And we have someone in the room, Barsha Patel, that went on the India trip. And what the community, the Centennial College community, doesn't see is that this was proposed to us 3 years in the making. So one of the things that I don't want you all to be discouraged by that story, but at the same time, meet with us early so that you can determine what are some of the gaps, what are some of the things that are missing to develop a project that has tangible learning outcomes. A lot of people come to us and have these great ideas for Giselle's, and I'm looking at you, Matt McInnes. Can I share with them the idea that you had? So you can share it. What was the one thing you wanted to do with students?
Oh, to be honest, there's 2 that I took to do.
The mountain one?
Yeah, I'd love to go to Kilimanjaro. So I'd love to go and explore some conference around climbing up Kilimanjaro.
Right.
That'd be really interesting.
Yes.
The effect that has on that.
So, of course, I'm thinking Kilimanjaro from a risk and mitigation point of view. It's not something tangible. However, is there something that we can work with, right? And unfortunately, we didn't get to that in the initial conversations. But Varsha came back, and what she said is that she's been on another Giselle before as a project lead, and she said it was an excellent project, and she insists that this is something the college has to do every year. So you always hear good work, from good work to great work. That takes time. And it doesn't mean that your idea is not good, but work with us, and so we can develop something that can be a project, versus project is one of the testaments of something that is going to be sustainable, that we can all participate in. So that's the fourth element. And then the final piece is, how do you make it transformative? So I have Chet Singh here, and I co-developed a project with another faculty member. I wanted to do a girl empowerment project, and we did that in Jamaica. And we had all the elements, but when you write down things on paper, one thing with international development work is you have it down on paper, and then when you get there, is it what it is on paper? No. How do you bring the learning alive? So Chet was what's called the project advisor on the Giselle, and he made the learning elements, the learning outcomes, become transformative by doing reflective practice. So I have this idea. I just remember the Chinese restaurant and what you did when we were in the Chinese restaurant when the students, do you remember when you didn't even eat that one time? I don't want to paraphrase because you talk so eloquently, but when you get there, no matter how much you prepare students, no matter how much you prepare yourselves, you're going to get there and you are going to literally transform your own ideas and your perceptions of what you thought about the world, what you thought about your place in the world. However, if that's not rooted in reflective practice, then the learning doesn't go anywhere. So what Chet did multiple times is when students sat there after they did these activities, after they did all of the things that we wrote down on that piece of paper, he was able to add the socio-political context of Jamaica that we were in. He was able to advance the learning about women's empowerment from not only a historical perspective, but using that social justice methodology. And so that actually took the students along that continuum of transformative learning a lot higher. So those are the core elements. I want to stick to my time. Those are the core elements in authoring a Giselle. We are here to help. Don't become discouraged. I do think that if you want to write one, that is excellent. And we have a lot, because we're going into our 6th year, we do have a lot of information to share with you, and we can give you different proposals to look at that can inform how you want to organize your project. So thank you. Yes. So the 5 elements is the connection to a community organization that is doing, well, I wouldn't say network. Yeah, you can network, right? Or we can give you a list. Say you're interested in doing work with women's empowerment, right? We can help facilitate that. So there is networking. Or connection to community organization. Then you have to develop tangible social justice goals, which is rooted in a social justice methodology framework. And then the last piece I said was to have that transformative learning elements into it. So that has to do with your GCE learning outcomes. Gosh, now I forget what my 4th piece was. I think that was it. Yeah, that's it. Sustainability is the last element. Thank you.